Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome back. We got another episode of Guardians Daily for you, presented by Fan Arch. Last night, your Cleveland Guardians, nice bounce back victory in St. Louis, coming off a tough weekend down in Atlanta where they got blown out in two out of the three games. Well, it was time we blew someone else out, and that's what we did to the Cardinals last night. Ended up being 9-3 victory for your Cleveland Guardians. And that number, that score could be a little misleading based on the pace and tone of the game. But there was always that the game never felt out of hand and out of control. They kind of just played comfortably last night. The at bats just looked so much more comfortable than they did in some of those games in Atlanta, and it came from really top to bottom of the lineup. Libertor for the Cardinals didn't have his best stuff last night. The lefty for them, and the Guardians lineup has really done a nice job with some of these left-handed pitchers. I know that's tough to say after Chris Sale dominated them on Sunday night, but other than that, from the right side of the plate, there's been a lot of good stuff to like from this Guardians lineup. And we saw it last night. We saw it early and often, and there was power from the right side of the plate from guys who aren't necessarily power threats in terms of Brian Rocchio hit a no doubt home run late in that game. Second one this year he's hit, and you just kind of knew off the bat, gone. And he had a little bit more power and pop in spring of this year than he has in years past. So maybe something to keep an eye on with Rocchio, as he's always been playing his Gold Glove defense at short so far since moving over with the Gabriel Arias injury. And then there was a lot to like from the bats as well. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to talk a little Gavin Williams last night. About as good as a start as you can have after that first inning. And honestly, that first inning, it's hard to make too big of a deal out of considering he only did give up the one run and he was pitching with a one-run cushion, so it made it feel even less significant. But Cardinals came out hot. Their first four batters all got hits, and you're thinking, man, is this just going to be another Tanner Bybee like start from Monday where you just kind of get rocked out of the park and just don't have a chance in the ball game? And that was not the case because Gavin Williams is that guy for this staff, and he stepped up like it, and he pitched that way the rest of the game. Really settled in nicely. Got out of that first inning, only giving up the one run. Didn't have his normal strikeout numbers. Like he's usually one of those high volume strikeout guys. Only had four last night. But honestly, I think that's good to see. He can still get outs without relying just on these put away pitches and getting people out at the plate. Because you're gonna have nights where your stuff's not gonna be great. Like that wasn't his best last night, and he was still able to settle into the game and give your guys a great chance to win. And then the offense had his back as well. After that first inning, didn't give up another run, got through five. I was very surprised they put him back out there for the sixth, considering he was already over 90 pitches, and it had already been kind of a grind for him to get even to that point. But they put him out there to start the sixth. First at bat, Jordan Walker, power threat, gone, and gone was Gavin Williams and out of the ball game. And then there was a little bit more traffic in that inning, but they were able to manage and get out of it. But overall, I think that's an encouraging start from Gavin because if that's what it looks like when he doesn't have his stuff like he normally does, that's pretty darn good. One run now ended up being two runs over five innings, and he really didn't lose control out there. I kind of got worried after that first inning, and then he had a walk later in the game, and you're like, oh, is this where the walks start coming? We've talked about walks being an issue, and control has been an issue for Gavin. Really wasn't last night after that first inning. And then at first inning, they were just kind of hitting some good pitches, and they were taking him the other way, and they were just kind of putting some good slap swings on the ball, which is kind of what you have to do with Gavin, especially in his off speed stuff. That's where you're going to get some of those weaker contact. But if you well place it, that's going to work. So credit to the Cardinals there. But Gavin got out of it, and he was pitching with that one run lead for a reason after Angel Martinez had a home run in the second bat of the game, second at bat of the game, hitting in that two spot. Chase the Lauder got the night off last night, especially with the lefty on the mound. And I think there is just going to be some more days off for him than maybe fans would prefer, considering how good he is and considering he's the best bat in the lineup right now. But facing a lefty, been playing a lot lately, gave him the night off. And who did they put in that two hole? Angel Martinez. He's been really good in that spot when they've put him there this year. Obviously, had the big game in against the Royals with the grand slam and the 4 hits. Had a nice weekend in Atlanta, even though the rest of the offense really didn't. And then kind of kept it going last night. Had a 2-hit game. Really nice, just off speed pitch, staying with the ball. His pop from the right side of the plate has really been impressive throughout his career. Just him as a right handed hitter. I know we've talked a lot about his improvement from the left side early this season. Well, if he keeps improving from the left side, and we've already established he's really good from the right side, then you just might have a heck of a hitter. And he's smooth in the field. He's got some swagger. He's got the look you want from your baseball players. Like kind of when you're looking at these guys and the way he moves around in the field, the way he runs the bases, and the way he looks in the batter's box, he has that look that play at scouts and fans and things like that gravitate towards. So a lot of excitement with Angel Martinez. If he can keep up this start, like I don't know how many of you remember when he made his big league debut, that first 3 weeks of his career, he was on absolute fire. And the excitement was there of what this guy could be for this team and all these things. And then he kind of hit some lulls last year, especially. There were some down spots, didn't necessarily have a full time spot on the big league club last season, and it honestly wasn't a lock to make this team to make the opening day roster this year, and did what he had to do. Worked his butt off, had a great spring training, and kind of made it impossible not to have him on this roster to start the year. And then since the year has started, every time he's gotten a chance to play and put into this lineup and put in the field, he's taken advantage of it. So a lot to like with Martinez for a guy who's been his ceiling and floor are as high and low as it can be right now in terms of what we've seen from him in his career. Because when it's been bad with Martinez. But when it's been good, it's there. And I think he's gonna level out. Like I think I've used that comparison with Gabriel Arias before, the floor and the ceiling. I think Martinez is a more consistent player than Gabriel Arias was when that conversation was being had. Like a big thing with Arias was his inconsistency. But with Martinez, I don't think that's going to be as much of a concern in terms of when he's not on these heaters. I think the base level you'll get from him will be a little more consistent, a little more playable, and not as hurting, like devastating to the team as Arias has during some of his slumps and things like that. When you're talking about a high risk, high reward player. But there was a lot going on with the roster yesterday as well. There was a lot of movement with the team. Kobe Allard was designated for assignment. I wonder who's coming back to the bullpen. Well, it's Hunter Gaddis back out there. That means what else? What other moves did we make? Well, George Valera, the guy we've been waiting on, has been down in Columbus rehabbing. Guy was a hero for this team down the stretch last year. A couple big time home runs out of that left-handed batter's box. He's a smooth hitter for this team, and a lot of excitement about Valera. Wasn't sure how he was going to fit back in the roster, what the corresponding move was going to be. Kind of cleared up over the weekend. We kind of all thought it'd be CJ Kayfus, and it was. CJ Kayfus, actually, if you saw on Twitter, a lot of people were sending out, there was a picture of him before the move had been announced of him back at Cleveland Air Hopkins Airport. I always hate when you see that about a guy, especially before the news is even released from the team. But that kind of gave an indication, so everyone's antennas were up, ready for a corresponding move. Valera was the logical choice, and that is what they did. So, obviously, no Valera last night. Gaddis did make his debut last night in the eighth inning. It was nice considering, I think they said they were going to use him in the eighth regardless. That's been his spot. But it was nice that they got those insurance runs. Quan with the 2-run RBI single in the top of the eighth made it nice and easy and comfortable for Hunter Gaddis because he did have some traffic when he came in for his return in the eighth inning. But no harm, no foul there. I think it's going to take him some time. His velocity is not where it used to be when we've seen him at his best. So that's always just going to take some adjustment. And then how can he work without it? Does it come back? Or if it doesn't, how does he work himself to be a pitcher who can pitch? If he's not going to be throwing as hard as he used to, how does he adjust going forward will be something to keep an eye on. But how else? What else I'm looking for in terms of adjustments is to this lineup. So George Valera, where does he fit in? He's not the purest outfielder, nor was CJ Kafis, in fairness, and they let CJ Kafis play the outfield, so maybe that's how it's going to play out for Valera. But they were using him a lot at DH last year, and I just don't know if there's that availability like it was in the lineup last year. They're kind of last year. There was towards the end of the season. It was kind of we had that spot open for DH because there wasn't a guy or a bat we really needed. Fry wasn't reliable. He was hurt towards the end with the ball hit to the face. Santana was already gone. Big Christmas was still there, but that was one of the options. So it shows what the level of options were at the DH spot. Now with Kafis working Fry back last night, Fry has caught in Atlanta the other night, so he's been playing the field a little more. Austin Hedges has still been really solid so far at the plate, which has been nice in terms of what you have to do with Fry and Naylor, because there's been some concerns there, especially with Bo's start to the season. But where's Valera mixed back in here in terms of does he play the field? I'm sure his first game or two back he'll be in that DH spot. Maybe they put him out in left, put Quan in center. Schneemann had a great game last night. He had the big hit to break things open. So that's a guy who's gonna be finding his way into the lineup as well. And he's just been clutch for this team all year with Schneemann. So where's Valera fit back into this puzzle? Where's his piece get played, if you will? And I'm curious to see what Stephen Vogt wants to do. Obviously, I think they really like Valera's bat, and for good reason. There was a lot of things to like from Valera down the stretch last year, and really, I think in his career for Columbus has always been a consistent bat and hitter for what they're looking for. Now, where does he come in? How do things get shaken out? I mean, DeLauder's still your guy in right field. The Quan thing, I'm curious where their plan long term is with Quan. Well, you could ask a lot of questions about Quan's future with his team contract, things like that. Not what I'm getting at right now. More so, Quan, I would like him to, if he's going to play center field, have him play it consistently. Really, he's played center field every game, unless if Schneemann has been the only other guy that we've seen step into that center field role. And I guess Schneemann made a heck of a catch last night at the warning track. Kind of an awkward play with him and Martinez going after it. That was a fun one. So I think they like Schneemann in center if he's going to be playing the outfield, which no problem with. He's been solid out there so far, and he's made some really impressive plays at the wall. He had a nice one in the home opening series against the Cubs. So you never know there. But I'd like if Quan's not going to be playing left field, then I think that does open up a spot for Valera. Can they put him in left and see what sticks there for him? In terms of is that a viable option? I mean, left field, it's been tough. We've been spoiled for so long with Quan and Brantley, two of the best left fielders in the game over the last 10 to 15 years, that you've seen it. Like we saw, it wasn't the prettiest. It wasn't the belle of the ball when we got to see CJ Kafis play in left field, Wasn't a great sight. And it's a hard position to play, especially at Progressive with the wall out there. So we've seen how difficult it can be. Do they want to add that to George Valera's plate when he comes back? I will be interested to see what they do with him, or is it going to be more of a DH role? Maybe take some at bats away from the Hoskins, Manzardo, whoever's not playing first base. Will be something to keep an eye on. And then just want to finish up. Look at tonight's baseball game down in St. Louis. Just trying to, hey, win another series. Just keep stacking, like we've been saying. Coming off their first series loss, obviously, to the Braves. Get it right back. Hey, go get game 2 tonight. Joey Cantillo on the mound. Can Cantillo do it again? It's going to be another thing to keep an eye on tonight in St. Louis. Cantillo's been awesome to start the year. Had his moments last season as well. And he's always had flashes because he has such good stuff. He's got such good stuff and action, and he can make you look silly at the plate. It's been finding the consistency this season, not giving up the walks, not having the control problems, and he's really found it with that changeup. That's become one of probably his best pitch, and he really was not comfortable throwing that as much last year and early in his career. He's found something with this changeup. When you're watching the game tonight, just keep an eye on how that Joey Cantillo changeup is affecting these Cardinals hitters. I hope it affects them horribly, and I hope they have a difficult time with it. And I think they will because that's how good he's been to start the year. I think he's just going to keep on rolling and see if we can get another offensive night to, again to support him. Keep supporting that pitching staff playing complimentary baseball. And let's go win another series. But that'll wrap us up for today's edition of Guardians Daily. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about everything from tonight's action and then look into a little preview of our weekend series against the Baltimore Orioles. So, without that any further ado, appreciate you tuning in. Guardians Daily. As always, go Guardians.